Hey, how's it going, guys? SrGrafo here, and I will be talking about Rimworld Tales today. I said I was gonna do this video. However, it's gonna be full spoilers. Full spoilers. So if you haven't checked this story and you wanna check it, I'm gonna link it at the bottom of the description. It's a really short story. You can pick it up in like 20-40 minutes. It's really not that long. So, where to start? There's a lot to say, but mostly I wanted to make a video to talk about some Easter eggs that I put in the story that I'm pretty sure I don't know if people got them. So right from the start, a little history about this. This is the very first chapter, and it looks absolutely disgusting. I didn't know how to draw these people. So all right, let's put some story into this. This chapter was posted in the Rimworld subreddit as a joke. By the way, in case you don't know, the whole story is based on a game. It happens in the universe of a game. However, you don't really need to play the game to appreciate the stories. It's not needed. It enhances the thingy because they talk about reference and things like that. For example, here you see that there is some kind of monsters, robots. In the game, you get to know these people, but it's not that needed. So some people might know this. When SrGrafo was, the whole SrGrafo thing was starting, I was making like jokes in the Rimworld subreddit about the mechanics of the game because I was, obsessed with the game. And one day I thought like, you know what would be funny if I make a post and it's not a joke, it's something serious. It's about this story that it's completely like no funny at all. It's absolutely the opposite. And I posted it, and a lot of people. The reaction was good. You can still find that post. I'm pretty sure it's over there. The reaction was positive. A lot of people was like, wait, what? I didn't expect this. And a lot of people were actually asking me to do more of this. And it reached a point where I was like, I cannot go blind about this. This was a one-shot, one-off, like one-time little short thingy. And they wanted more, so I was like, all right, if I'm gonna do more, I should make a proper script. So this is before before Tynan appeared in the story. I decided to make. I grabbed a notepad and I wrote. And I wrote, okay, I'm gonna make the simplest story ever. It's gonna be so simple. It's gonna be guy takes kid from place A to place B. That's gonna be the story. Because one thing that always annoys me is how so many people try to make a huge world and universe, and they talk about hours and hours about their amazing universe, but it's like there's no story, there's not, and that could be like you can get trapped in that cycle of writing and writing and writing. So, and I was like, I'd rather make something dumb and simple that it's gonna be just that story about one guy that takes a kid from place A to place B. That's gonna be the story. And then I realized that sentence alone exploded, and I keep expanding in the notepad, and I was like, all right, why? And little by little ended up being like because of this, because of this, because of that, yada 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 yada. And once I got the basic script, I started drawing the comics. And this was the introduction of Tynan. At the bottom there is a little Easter egg. That's the first Easter egg. The MR in the patch stands for Me Raider, which was the joke that the people in the subreddit called me, like bad me artist, and these people were like bad me raiders. It's the really inside joke. I just put it there for a little gag. Also, some of you guys might have noticed after reading the whole story, Tynan, it's hugely inspired in Zuko from Avatar: The Last Airbender, which is a show I deeply love. And something I really hate in stories is when they place the bad guy and he's a bad guy because bad guys gotta be bad guys. I fucking hate that. So I wanted to make the opposite. The effect of Zuko thing, that's something I really enjoy in stories. When you get attached to the bad guy, but you need to show it in a different order. That's why. Also, it was really beneficial to show the story in different, how to put it, a different timeline. Most of this is like gameplay mechanics. Yeah, at this point I realized that, alright, I'm doing this story. I never thought I will finish it or anything, or that it will get any kind of audience at all. There was a change in the script in this part. The change was later on, but basically Tynan here knows that this person was lying to him, right? So the reason he knows that is because in the original script he was with Huntsman by this point, and Huntsman knew that the person was lying. They were working together. This was changing later on, though. There was a lot of things that were changing as I was going to fix the script properly. Yeah, the art style was really bad. I mean, don't get me wrong, the last chapters, the art style is still bad, but I improved it a little bit. Yeah, this is one benefit of once you have the whole script set it up down, once you know the timeline and everything that's gonna happen, the benefit of doing that is that you can jump in the time forward all the time, and you can bring characters from the future that they didn't appear yet, but you can show them now, because somebody that is reading the story from the beginning to end, like right now, they can appreciate this with more detail. However, the people that started reading this story like 1 or 2 years ago when I really started it, they were confused as fuck a lot of the time, because it was confusing. They had to wait like a week to know like what's going on and where is this, like there was another timeline. But the people that started reading it like last week, they got it all in a perfect, like, you know, kind of simple to understand way. Alright, so another Easter egg would be starting in chapter number 10, where Tarn kind of saves Tainan. So for the people that don't know, the name of the developer of the game, Rimworld, it's Tainan Sylvester. And the name of the developer of The War Fortress, a game that, you know, it's really inspired the whole Rimworld, it's Tarn, I don't remember his last name. So that's why these characters are named like this. One is Tarn and another is Tainan. And their philosophies, I try to keep this in the game to some degree, is that in Rimworld, there is entities that define what happens to your game. There is these gods and things like that. That's the ideology of Tainan. He believes in all of that sort of stuff. But the War Fortress follows a different ideology. It's more along the lines of you make your own path of decisions. There is nothing above you. There is no deities or gods that are making, like, you are defining your colony. That's what I'm trying to say. So it's two different ideologies of these two guys. But this is just really in the back. This gotta be the chapter that got a lot of people to... I think this is the chapter that triggered the Reddit advertised system to tell me that I shouldn't kill myself. Because this is one of my favorite chapters too. How to put it? So many people commented. I think it's because so many people commented that they were like, "Oh, this is sad." You know, that phrase, "This is sad," or "Don't make me sad," or "Why would you have to do this?" Yada yada. I think because so many people commented that, Reddit thought I was gonna kill myself because I started getting advertisements about like, "Hey, you're not alone. Here's some numbers that you can get help." And I never understood why suddenly Reddit every single time was asking me like, hey, you're not alone. But it was, that's my hunch. I thought it was because of that. Here's another little detail. This is a mechanic of the game. I don't know how many people notice it, but in the game, there is this Aurora Borealis effect, something in the sky that makes the sky super pretty. And even if the characters in the game are really sad, they can get a positive buff of mood just by looking at the things in the sky. Like, this is one of those little details. Like, if you play the game and you actually notice this, like, oh, that's the thing what's happening. You're still kind of appreciated, like, if you haven't played the game. Oh yeah, and this is the chapter of the song. It's a Rimworld Tales lullaby, if I'm not mistaken. Fancy table, are so pretty, also rounded. So the song, the tables in the game is something that you don't pay much attention, and you throw it to the stockpile, and you can get rid of it all the time. So in here, the song, the tables represents the people. So what they're talking about is like, they can be fancy, they can be light, they can be happy, and all the kinds of tables. But in the end, you put them in the stockpile. And this this gotta be the chapter that got a lot of attention, a lot of people, because until this chapter, there was no blood at all. And suddenly this was the chapter that went like... So people were like, are those kids in there? Because yeah, you can see the little bodies of the kids here and there. No bigger Easter egg here. Here you can see the beginning of Tainan applying the fairy sphere, which, as you can see, Tainan lives in a life of absolutely radical fairness, that you have to do what's fair, even if it's not the thing that you want to do, because that's the only way to live in this world. You gotta be fair. This is the one chapter that is important if you have finished the whole comic, because this is a chapter when they are bonding in the most fucked up way, but they're bonding. So when Noodles says a woo in the pot, He's thinking about this. Noodles remembered, by the way. He got the exception, you know, that rare case that he actually gets to remember after getting the resurrection thingy. So he's thinking about these. Like Diana is talking to him like, you're not gonna get what's gonna happen. I'm sorry, you don't get what's gonna happen. But the kid understands it. The kid understands that somebody needs to stay, so some bigger threat dies. So in this concept, Noodles understands this. But the only way to express him to say this is to say Awu. At least that's what I'm trying to say, to express in that chapter. Oh, oh god, so many people got angry because of this chapter. And yeah, it's also one of my favorite ones. The blindness thingy and everything about this character. I really enjoyed it. No Easter eggs here. Yeah, no Easter eggs here. Alright, the next point will be in chapter 20, I think. It's the first time the big ship in the back is shown, but no context at all is given. At the moment, it's basically just a scenery, sorry for my English. But later on, it has like a big meaning. Basically, it's this ship of Sach, sorry, I'm missing the names. They're the lovely fireflies. This is a reference from this meme. There was a meme about a seagull that goes like, inhales and it screams the seagull. It's a tiny little reference to that. Okay, this is the chapter where, what is the chapter? Number 20, part 2, where Huntsman is introduced for the first time, which ended up being a really favorite character for a lot of people. And I couldn't wait to talk about the bandages, but this was so early in the story that it's just gonna be for now a guy that appears. This was drawn in New Year's too. I remember this. Yeah, so I thought like, yeah, it should be related to the countdown, because you need to understand in the original script it was basically a line that says Tainan meets Huntsman. That's it. That was the thing. That's need to happen in this location. So it's great in the comic itself. You can have some liberties, and it's like, all right, when can this happen? It can be New Year's, and that helps to explain this and this and this, and that what is the name? Huntsman has been living with the fireflies for many years, but at this point. And in chapter 20, part 3, it will be the first revelation about the very, very far future, where Peter is talking about the ending of the series. But he's a drunk, so nobody takes him really seriously. Everyone just kind of hears him talk, yada, 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 yada. Nobody takes him seriously. But yeah, he's not predicting. He actually knows what's going to happen, but he doesn't even understand what he's saying. He's always drunk. He's the drunkest of the whole colony of drunk people. All right, Romeo, number 22. I put a reference from one of my favorite movies ever. I don't know how many people got this reference right here. So, Such was drawing how he feel with a little happy faces or angry faces or exclamation faces, how his that day was. This is later shown on in a better panel when Stan is entering the ship. And yeah, the ending too. Yeah, there it is. This is a reference to the movie Moon. It's a really old movie by now, but oh my god, I love that movie. And yeah, it's about this guy that is actually controlling the time, like checking, okay, how many more of these? And he marks with happy faces. And there is the ship again. Also, this art, for the people that's curious, this is another change in the script that happened. This is actually Sophie. And in the very early stages of the script, she kind of lived it, and she was kind of like a mercenary. A mercenary that lives in this kind of robotic monster, which is a creature from the game. But this was changed later on, and if I'm not mistaken, it was really after. Yeah. So she's introduced it in the next part. Because I was still messing around with it, like, could that be the story? Could I go that angle? But I realized that it cannot be that angle, it needs to be this one. Because the whole comic story, it's about 3 big annoyances I have with the Rimworld players. And the first one is like, raiders attack you for no reason at all. People is evil for no reason at all. How about we change that? How about we give a reasoning for that? The second thing I wanted to talk is how every single player of the game gets so like wealthy. They try to go for the wealthiest colony, and they don't give a shit about what you're doing to your pounds. They make them robots, completely robots, so they never die. So I was like, yeah, that's something I would like to show. What happened if you go full on into this robotic lifestyle per se. Chapter 26, Roger. This is something that was removed from the script. these people over here, they actually were gonna have a story. They were gonna pick up Noodles at some point, and they were gonna travel with him in the what is the name, Muffalo thingy. But it had to be removed because it didn't add up to what is needed to be shown in the story. Yeah, it makes you understand like there's so much things that they were removed because technically they were fillers. I just realized it. And we don't need fillers, we need the story, just the story. Number 28, first time Huntsman gets up, wakes up with bandages. And in this part is the first remember moment where he kind of see his powers, where the girl is like, the nurse is like, don't worry, got something for you, small sedative. But he knows that she's lying. It's in this very moment. That mixed with the fear of being sleeping on a surgery table. Jesus Christ. Yeah, number 29. This is pretty accurate to what the players of that game do with their characters. They don't give a shit. They just changing them to be like more robotic and robotic and robotic. So this is the opposite of whatever Huntsman ever wanted to be. He never wanted to be something that artificial. He always wanted to keep that purity on his own. By the way, now I'm a product of modern technology. It was the phrase Tainan applied in the game, the developer. But they changed it to body purist, I think, in later versions. Oh yeah, this was also removed. It's Huntsman number 32, where Huntsman meets Satch for the first time, and Huntsman is not having it at all. Come on, after everything, of course he's not gonna have it. And Satch tries to entertain him. We all know this part. And Satch says that he's gonna use a Doomster-looking launcher, which is like the biggest weapon in that game. He can take it. He can take the shot. So I remember in the original script it was like, yeah, Satch then is gonna be the one that stays. He's gonna be the one that sacrifices himself, and he's gonna have a Doomsday rocket launcher, and that's how he's gonna save everyone. But it sounded cool. Don't get me wrong, but it made no fucking sense. How is he gonna find one? Like, you start making your question, how is he gonna find a Doomsday rocket launcher? Because I knew that the ants are not gonna support the mission at all, so they're not gonna have many resources. Like, how is he gonna get one of the most powerful weapons in the game just to get that moment? So remove it from the story. A lot of the script had changes like that. In my hand, in one of the hands, I'm like, oh my god, that would be so cool. But in the other hand, I'm like, it doesn't make much sense, so it needs to be removed. All right, Lavi's friendship number 33. Of course, we gotta put a See in space, big boy, reference to our lovely Cowboy Bebop, which also makes a big reference in the finale. The mod, god damn it, one of my favorite characters. So one big mistake I did is that I didn't fully do concept art. I just knew what things kind of need to happen, but I didn't do the fully concept art before doing the story, and that was a huge mistake for one aspect, for Stan. I'll talk about it later on. Here's a bandage of Huntsman, search and rescue. Oh, this is an Easter egg that I'm pretty sure nobody can see it, but this is a centipede. It's a creature on the game, and I actually imagined the centipede to talk like the characters from StarCraft. So if you look at the dialogue of the centipede, it's saying meow, which sounds like, you know, this sound. And then he says cowboy. You can kind of see in text like cowboy. And then he calls him dumbass. You're a dumbass. Oh, he does it again here. Dumb. Oh, the Overrun. This was a spin-off, if I'm not mistaken. And it was the one chapter where I wanted to experiment something. I was curious if I could create the feeling of movement. And yes, I got the effect I wanted, even when this door is closing. Basically, that's all I wanted. Like, I wanted to have the camera in one single shot. Sector 555. Oh, one of my favorite chapters. This was released in Halloween, if I'm not mistaken. And there is a face in the fire, first of all. But this was mostly people talking about things that they don't understand, but they were actually talking about the game itself. Like, they're talking about seeing something flying object, sharp object in the sky. They were talking about the mouse. Then they were talking about how the sun was moving really fast. It's because the player was changing the speed. And eventually how the player was fed up with that save, so it destroyed it. Yeah, so this is people like faceless for that too. It's like unrelated. And the first reference for the man that his feet don't touch the ground, which is a huge connection to Randy, but that comes later. And then we have Shitty Winter, which I started doing again after after a big break because I took a big rest from doing the comics. And this is this teaches me on a personal level because I had to think about, okay, how do you do bullies? And I was like, I don't know how to do bullies. So I just trying to remember the bullies I had in high school. And the one thing these guys did to me was exactly this. They were pushing me. I remember these people very vividly. So I was like, yeah, I don't know how it's bullying. But that day I remember it. So I just put it in comic form. Sadly, there was nobody to come to help me. It ended there. Sappers of Rimworld. Here's when you start getting more clear visual of how lifeless and inhuman the raiders of the world are, and this is explained properly further later on the line. Yeah, and here's another reference at the very end of this chapter. That's it. So obvious reference. Watchmen.
It's a joke. It's all a joke.
And forevermore, that's how you stay.
Look, I tried to make the blood as similar as possible, and it was to represent the death of some important character, for Tynan at least, and Tynan and Oliver, their mom. This is another big reference, like almost shot by shot, if I'm not mistaken. This is for my little angel. Okay, that's something that my mom used to tell me all the time. I was her little angel and winning a horse. Yeah, here it is. My mom used to tell me all the time that I was her winning horse. Like, she always believed that whatever I'm gonna do, I'm gonna be the one that ends up winning. Not even, she never told this to my sister or anybody. It's just, you're gonna make it. That was her favorite, I guess. Here.
And where's your camera? Aren't you gonna take some pictures?
Pictures of what?
You know, crying babies covered in chocolate, people singing happy birthday to my son who've never even met him before, you know, the whole routine.
Where do you think we are?
Your name is the splinter inside me while I wait. I remember the sound of your November downtown. And I remember the truth.
This is the scene from Scraps, famous series. Where do you think we are? Shot by shot. Also here, little detail, you can see that the grave of Sarah and Evan is absolutely non-memorable. This is because they were really poor people that almost nobody knew. They just have those friends. Here's where it gets confused because confusing for the people that saw it for the first time, but if you read it all in one go, this is like, oh, it makes sense. But here's the first reveal of the Defiler. He uses the dogs and he never sleeps. Because he's trying to say, like, the Defiler is behind everything. He's doing everything. He's making the people do shitty things to other people. And there's a reason for that. Wait, 1 second. I love this chapter. I'm working really hard on it, especially because of the music, I think. Also, it's the chapter where those kids get the morals of the fairness. Now, I'm gonna explain about the failure soon, once we get to that part. Here's a little detail. When Huntsman and Tynan meet properly, Huntsman introduces to Penelope the chicken because Huntsman doesn't like rice, and this is a rice farming colony. So he lives mostly through eggs, eating eggs. This is to represent that in that time in my life, I was only eating eggs too. So I felt like sharing somehow. And at the end of the comic, you can see that Penelope is actually alive with the crickets, northern crickets. So one of the last things Huntsman did, because he kind of knew about the whole failure of the mission, and he knew that he was gonna die. So he picked up Penelope and gave it to the northern crickets. You know, that's why she's in the end. This chapter happened exactly when this meme started, and believe it or not, it's not related that much. I don't remember exactly if I did it because of the meme. I don't think so. But it happened exactly at the same time, so it makes me wonder. Oh, Hoodsack, one of my favorite chapters. I think the second favorite chapter ever I have, Hoodsack, which is where it's revealed that Huntsman, after all this time, has been helping the tribals, opposite of what he had been doing for the longest time, which is killing them. Hoodsack is how the tribals say huntsman. They cannot say huntsman, so they say hutsak. That's the word. Dako means, as you know, it means that everything is good. It's huntsman. Huntsman is there. Everything's good. Then everyone is like cheering him, like, hey, how are you doing? And the first thing that he says is like, hey, how are you guys doing? Is everything okay? And he's like, yeah, everything is perfectly. Daki Ak is kind of like a variation of Dako, but yeah, everything is good. And everyone is like pretty much cheering him. And then the kids appear and they're like, hey, Huntsman, did you miss us? And of course, Huntsman is like, of course, like everything is good now that you guys are safe. Here, one of the kids gives him this doll and he says Prinza. This is because Huntsman has been telling them the story, his story to the tribe, but he cannot really say that he has been killing them. So in the way he makes it, and I didn't put any of this in the comic, but the way Huntsman did it is that he talks about this story about the knight and a princess. And that's why everyone is like, oh, this is the princess, this is the princess. They talk about the princess. But he just gets sad because he knows that he's talking about Sophie. And also Tainan gets getting a personal level here. And that's also why he started losing the red, because he started appealing to the humanity of everything that's happening. Chapter 47. So there's a detail over here. If you notice in this part, you can see like 2 eyes and a skeleton, and so many people was like, wow, that's so cool. I did not plan that. I would have made it better. That's an absolute accident, so I just want to make it absolutely clear. I would have loved to make it. That's such a clever idea, but I didn't do it. Oh, here's another one. The Rich Explorer, chapter 49. There is an Avengers reference here, where the tribal tried to steal the food, but then Tarn is like, nah. He grabs the thing and he sent the tribal far away, and now he has a spear. And then he noticed that the tribal has a kid, and he's like, stop, you can take half of it. So he's offering half of his food. But the tribal doesn't get it. He's like, should I raise more my hands? Like, I don't know what's this person talking about. And then Tarn tries to explain this. What I'm trying to say is that you can take half of my food, but he doesn't get it. So he says like a kid, like, nom nom, half. And he snaps his fingers like Thanos, like, half, get it. That was another reference. Here's another secret that I did not expect people to find, but some people fucking found. In Revelations chapter 51, at the end of this chapter is when, Peter is actually telling him that he knows everything that happened. Mostly because he's dying. He's like completely aware of what happens in the visions and everything. So he tells Tynan about the ending of the comic and the story. And he says that the air will go blue. Some people think that he's talking about the pod, that everything from the pod seems blue, but that's not the reason. The air will go blue. It's a reference of the song that plays in the last chapter, Blue from Cowboy Bebop. That's why Tynan also hears this song. He looks at the sky and he's like, what is that? He's actually hearing it because he's starting to see like the fourth wall. It doesn't matter that much though, because he's in his last seconds. And in this frame over here, I put a hidden Randy, but some people fucking found it, which is going to be shown way later in the story. Oh, chapter 52, there was a change in the story here again, because this is the point where in the original script I said that Huntsman is gonna go and work with Tynan, but as I was drawing this, I was like, there is no fucking way he will go. It doesn't make any sense, so I need to fix this. Like over and over, there were so many fixes, because I was like, in the script, in paper, it sounds good, like, yeah, now they go from this point to this point, yada yada. But after you've seen how they are to each other, it's like, there's no way, he needs to be apart from him, at least for now. Chapter 55, 100%. It's a really sad chapter. Noodles is talking about the beards. Beards, look at the beards, Dad. Look at the golden beards. Dad, look at the beards. Up, wake up. Yeah, where is the baby? God damn it, that's a sad chapter. Oh, the anomaly, number 58. This is the first time when people thought that this was going to be the guy that feet don't touch the ground, but no, this is just another guy. Eventually, he's get to know to be the guy that knows that it's a game. And the reason why he knows it's a game is because there's another comic called SrGrafo into the comic verse, which it's actually connected. It's like the explanation of why he knows. And there's no further development for this character, because I need him for other stuff. This was just to show like where he comes from. Old Friend, chapter 59, where Sky is leaving the prison with Gadget, but they can barely make it, and then they make it, and then suddenly Gadget is like, he runs into into the building to take Huntsman. This is because, as explained way into the future, the Gadget is one of the breed of special dogs that the Defiler uses. So the Defiler knows. He knows the story he wants to make. He knows what is a good story, and he needs Huntsman to be part of it. That's the only reason why Gadget is saving him. And goddammit, Chrysalis, my goddammit, this chapter is like, this gets me sad. There were some changes here. Yeah, there was a change here, but because I thought I was gonna get banned if I posted this comic here, this panel over here. In this panel, put your fingers. There was no text bubble, so you can put your fingers to cover that. And there was no knife. You can put your fingers there to cover it. That was the panel. That was the only thing in the panel. And I was advised like, yeah, you should change that because that's really fucked up. Because if you cover it up, if you see it without the text and without the knife, you get a context of what was actually happening. It's a really fucked up scenario. Main reason why everyone was also so pissed about this guy and yada yada. Oh, this is another reference. All of this.
You shut the fuck up! Shut the fuck up! Shut the fuck up! I will kill you, and then I will drag you out of fucking hell and kill you again. Shut the fuck up! Stop fucking.
I wonder how many people got this one. This is a really hidden one, the reference. I can do this all day. Another reference. Chapter 60, part 3. Yeah, this is where Randy sends them the item they need to continue because he also knows what's going to happen. It's really fucked up from their point of view now that I think about it. That they know that they need to experience this shit so they become the people they are. And they know that he's gonna die. He knows like, here's the thing you're gonna use to revive him after. From the perspective of the Defiler and Randy, yeah, this is a completely different thing. Oh, here's the note that she reads. I have it written. I'm gonna put it on the screen. I don't remember exactly what it was. I will need to find again that file, but I realized that it's not that important to add it in the story. If I recall correctly, it was something along the lines of there cannot be truly happiness without sadness. Something along those lines. All right, chapter 64. You know this one. Come on. Also, the thing I was mentioning at the beginning of the video that I made the mistake of not doing the concept art, it's a Stan. I knew Stan as a character, like, yeah, Stan is gonna be there, they're gonna be friends, yada yada. I knew that, but I never did the concept art. So when I had to draw him, when I had to do the comic, I was like, all right, let's just make it black. I didn't think about it. That was my mistake. Because later on, people were like, oh, Stan's gonna die because he's the black guy. And I was like, I wouldn't do that. Wait, oh shit, he dies in the script and I made him black. No, everyone's gonna think that I'm doing the cliche of the black guy dies. But his death was planned from the very beginning. That's what I'm trying to say. It was my error, my accident, my mistake. Do not do proper concept art at the very beginning of the story. I had the story, but I didn't have the concept art. By the way, in this point, this girl's dead. It's an hallucination, and she talks at the ending. She talks to Stan, but she's already dead. Chapter 64, part 6. Yeah, there is another reference to the very first chapter. Here, it's impossible for someone to go in and out from there alive. This is the exact same thing Andrew tells to Mike in the very first chapter of the story. Chapter 65, of course, Stan doesn't want to be part of because it's so fucking weird in movies that they're like, hey, there's a suicidal mission, do you want to go? Yes, let's do it. And people don't volunteer for these things unless they have actually some need or purpose to be there. Even Huntsman, the only reason Huntsman going there is because for many years somebody has been telling him this story, so now he's kind of curious to see like, is this gonna be how I die? Is this really the thing? But yeah, Stan doesn't have like a horse in this race, which eventually changes later on because of this chapter. It's shown that, yeah, what really happened. And there's such ship falling from the sky, where you can see with more detail that it wasn't like a couple of days, it was years of like absolute disaster life. Every single face is sad, except the last ones. For the last weeks, he got happy, but that's it. Chapter 66, first introduction of the Defiler. And yeah, some people noticed it, but in the very first panel, if you notice, he's connected to a cryo-sleep bed. This is because he's never sleeping. In the chapters of the Defiler, you can see that he's gonna kill himself. He's done with life. He cannot endure seeing someone in the sky looking. So he's about to kill himself, and then Randy saves his life. Wait, I'll get to that in a second. So first introduction of him with the dogs. And he's using the hallucination, the lance, the psychic lance. And at the very end, Yeah, at the very end, they told him, like, we tracked the people responsible, that they're in the Firefly colony. Orbital beam is prevented, they're about to kill them. But he's like, no, belay that order. Because he says here, I need him alive, I need him alive. For him, and he's specifically talking about Huntsman. If he would have let them take the orbital attack, they would destroy the Fireflies and Huntsman would have died. And he knows that he needs it for the story. Here's where we talked about the necessary evil, if I'm not mistaken. Like, these two guys, the wasps, are taking... I mean, Tsaran even, are killing as many wasps as they can because they consider it, you know, the evil of the world. That's where they originate from, the main place. The wasps go all over the world, and these are mainly controlled by the Defiler and Randy. But it's a necessary evil that this shit needs to happen, because if shit doesn't happen, if there's not evil people in the world, then the player is gonna get bored and he's not gonna play the game. So basically, the Defiler and Randy are making this thing that everyone gets to live, everyone gets to have a story and participate in reality. Otherwise, you don't exist if the player gets bored. So shit needs to happen, and hence it's a necessary evil. It's strange yet familiar. This was so hard to write, the chapter 68 part 1, because I needed to somehow show that I didn't want to spoil people, like he's being resurrected. I didn't want to say that. So all the chapters need to be written in a way that, how can he know how to fight after being resurrected so many times? So that's why he explained, it's like I know it, but I don't know how to explain it. He doesn't remember who anybody is, but it's really marking in his head who he is and why he keeps protecting Sarah over and over. Chapter 69, and this is the moment where Huntsman threw a mine at Tynan, and that's why Tynan has a mine right here, which was this planet to be thrown later on to the Mod Queen. The Covenant, chapter 72, Huntsman is like, I haven't used one of these before. This is the first hint, like, he's absolutely not a fan of technology. Even at the end, in final chapters, he's like, hey, he's powering the thingy somehow, I don't know. He's absolutely not a fan of technology. Just the little details about that. Also, at the end of this chapter, you can see how it says silent not. This is a reference of me being an idiot and thinking that nodding your head makes noise. This is a mistake. It should be just nod, but I thought it needed to be silent. This reference, I think everyone knows it.
Did I stutter?
So there's not much to say about it. Here you go again in chapter 74. The girl is predicting everything that's gonna happen. The air will go blue. There's gonna be a shootout and his dad's gonna be killing because of that. The red door won't hold. The Mod Queen is gonna kill one. Well, at least get the whole room really red and try to kill one, while the other two keep on moving. And tick-tock, here's the bomb that his dad is gonna use to sacrifice himself. Like the whole story is here. Chapter 77, one for the team. Yeah, you can see a little ant here that fell down because these people are from the ants colony. So it's just to show that one died, but the other ones gotta continue. And here Stan is hallucinating and talking about, like, I know that I'm gonna die, and I can know already that my wife is already dead in the other room. I know that. Yeah. And then they separate. Chapter 77, one for the team, part 2. There is a reference I wanted to put here, right here. This is from one of my favorite moments in Avatar: The Last Airbender. It's when Toph says that somebody's lying just because they want them to keep on moving. I had to change it a little bit though. Yeah, the Red Room, chapter 78. It's where I hint about it again, about what happened to her and why she went full body armor and why Evan didn't go for full body armor. Well, mostly because Evan didn't remember most of the, trauma that happened there. But she did remember, and I imagine the one thing that it would do if somebody like invade my body or things like that, I would love that never happens again. And that was like the logic of her going full armor, so nobody touched her again. You thought it was because it was cool? Come on, there's a reason for everything. In chapter 80, Warm Snow, is when Tynan is pretty much done. He's kind of ready to die and giving up. That's also why he sees Tarn. It's the regret of like, yeah, it's fair, but I regret what happened. I couldn't actually get the kid alive because the kid didn't deserve to die. He just took him from him. That was the fairness. You took someone from my life, I took someone from your life, but I don't really need to kill that person. And then he gets up by the hallucination of Oliver, which ends up being Huntsman. And some people were like, yeah, why would Huntsman spend time like here, like he could just spend more barricade. And also, how can Huntsman save him? Like, come on, are we talking about a person that spent years of his life bandaging himself? Of course he's gonna be a pro at bandaging. That's how he bandages the whole body in a second. There is a Man in Sky, chapter 81. Yeah, this is the filer. This is the very first story. There's nothing. This is the very early game, the early creation, where he sees the player and he fucking loses his mind. And the Pantomat, number 82, sorry, is where he just lost the dog, the one creature in the world that can, you know, keep him sane. And he's about to kill himself, but then he sees Randy, and Randy explains the whole. It's like, he tells him everything. And because he tells him everything, he doesn't want to kill himself anymore. He actually want to do the opposite. He want to live forever. That's why he connects himself to the machine. Yeah, finally, chapter 83 is where, in the part 3, is where all the revelations and premonitions are being talking about. Huntsman know everything. He just didn't want to believe in that this is how he dies. So he tried as hard as possible to not, because he, not like Tynan, he doesn't believe in gods or future or destiny. So it was really, it hit him hard, literally. Blue, chapter 83, no Easter eggs, but really the chapter I had the most fun drawing. There was so many shots that I needed to do in this chapter, and yeah, oh my god, it took ages. Also, and my favorite one is here. Is when Huntsman looks that up and he shoots. You can see the bullet over here, the missile in the back, while Huntsman is Diamond is killing other people. And when they explode, you can see the other bullet. He already calculated where he needs to shoot. There is the other bullet, the missile, and finally the last chapter, chapter 83, part 6. It's over, and here's where Tynan actually hears the music of the background music. He doesn't know what it is. He asks for Huntsman, but it's already like late for sharing that conversation. And this is a bigger reference to one of my favorite endings of all shows. Is the ending of Cowboy Bebop. When he goes to the sky, when the music plays, it's so charming and relaxing. It makes you know that everything is okay now. And here you go, at the end you can see again Penelope with the northern crickets, that they were actually fishing now, because when Huntsman introduced to Tynan, he's like, they're still learning the basics of it. And that's why he kept feeding them, he kept hunting for them. But now they're doing good on their own. So it's happy ending at the end. So I might have missed a couple of Easter eggs here and there. I tried to recall a couple while making this video of like, yeah, that one. But yeah, that should be everything you probably missed about Rimworld Tales. I gotta start working in the next chapter. This time I'm not gonna make mistakes. Concept art, everything from the very beginning. Script all done. So I'll let you guys know how that goes. But that should be for this video. I hope you enjoy the story as much as I enjoyed doing it. It's such a long piece of my life I spent drawing it. But that should be it. I'll see you guys tomorrow.